We will begin this interaction this evening at a time with the idea that each and every one of you, as you are continuing with the idea of your own transformation of your lives in your own way, according to your own methodologies, according to your own perspectives, according to what, in your terms, makes sense to you, the ideas and the avenues to pursue, so to speak, pursue, with regard to your own understanding of more and more of yourself, your own spiritual growth, your own cognition of your own connection to much more of yourself in this way, simply recognize that as you endeavor to create these scenarios in your lives that represent the ideas you desire to be, you are surrounding yourselves, of course, with many ideas of symbological meaning, symbological notation, importance to you, validity, meaning. In this way, simply recognize that many of the ideas you are exploring, because of the world you have created for yourselves, because of the world you are changing from, many of you will still find that you may relate to the change in the symbols that you are used to using from the world you are changing from. Not so much the symbols that you will use in the world you are changing to, but in this way you can recognize that your symbols are taking on different meanings. You do not have to apply all of the meanings that used to be attached to the symbols you used to use, even though they may seem to be the same symbols. They do not necessarily, though they may be the same external symbols, necessarily carry anymore the same internal meaning. Many of the ideas, therefore, that you may come up against, so to speak, that may make you feel as if you are getting nowhere when you see the reenactment of the same symbols over and over and over again, is simply because you are putting a certain meaning according to those symbols the way you have always thought of them, and not allowing yourself to begin to redefine that those symbols can now be representative of a totally new way of perceiving your reality. It is simply that you think that one symbol can only stand for one thing, when in fact a symbol can have a multitude of meanings according to how you now think of yourself. Therefore, do not allow yourselves in this way to necessarily feel that just because you may be allowing yourself to feel that you are repeating ideas, going through cycles over and over again of repetition, that it is actually a cycle of repetition. It is simply an opportunity for you to recognize that as you change, as you grow, as you evolve, so to speak, you may give yourself the opportunity to view an idea from many different perspectives, many different points of view. Now, in that way, the only thing that makes it seem as if you are not getting anywhere is continuing to judge that those differing, what are actually different points of view, are all the same points of view over and over again, simply because the symbol itself does not necessarily change that much. But it is up to you to recognize that the symbol is only a shell, and in and of itself carries no built-in intrinsic meaning. It is you that give all the meaning to the symbol. This is your opportunity to recognize how malleable your symbols are, and how you can fill the shell of a symbol with a totally different substance, a totally different meaning than it formerly contained. To allow yourself to recognize it is not so much that the idea of your physiological world has to change that radically in order for an internal change to be very, very different in this way. So, this can assist you and allow you to recognize that you do not have to seek the massive change that you desire in your externalized symbol, but simply in how it is you now define the ideas that will, for a while, remain a part of your physical reality as long as you have decided to be physical. You will see very, very abrupt physiological changes going on in your world, but during this time of transformation, recognize that more often than not, most of the changes will be internalized first. Not so much that you need to look for an externalized symbol as a proof that things are changing within you, but in this way do recognize you will get externalized changes as soon as you are willing to redefine whatever the externalized symbols are that are appearing in your life, and not succumb, so to speak, to the belief that you are only repeating ideas that you do not want to live anymore. It is your opportunity to recognize that a shell is only a shell, only an illusion. And it takes its form, it takes its substance from what you are willing to define the experience as. That, filling that shell with a new definition, with a new substance, is what will allow the formerly thought of, formerly held, formerly defined shell to be able to change, but it changes from the inside out, not from the outside in. You follow me? Shooting!
Hey, I was driving down an alley, and part of me was aware that every little so often it was a new scene. It wasn't just a continuous motion, but
correct.
Broken like a strobe effect.
Hey, discontinuity. Hey.
Okay, and every scene was like a snap.
Hey.
You know, another inch was moving along.
Hey.
Is there an actual timing of
Yes.
the physical universe? What is it, like a millionth of a second or some number like that? Can it be equated that way?
In a sense it can be, but in this way you will find it will fluctuate to some degree depending upon your perspective and how it is you are creating your particular point of view of what is going on. For recognize that the more you live in the moment, the less time you create in that sense, therefore the less fluctuations that you have in that way. It can be measured in the millions and what you call the billions of seconds in that way. Even infinite speed can be measured in that sense, because you understand that the idea of all the flickers that you experience as your on time in this particular reality, in between those moments exist the flickers of every other parallel reality that exists. You follow me?
Yeah.
In this way, therefore, recognize, it is not so much that it can be measured in precise increments, but it is, in that way, rather infinite in speed, though there is a pulsation to it.
Okay. If one were to accelerate perception, could one slow it and make it appear as though it's one frame at a time, so to speak?
You can, if that serves the purpose. A.
Yeah.
Although recognize, once again, the idea of living in the moment will be that you will not create as much time, and so you will perceive that things are moving quite rapidly. Another variation of the idea that you have already expressed upon your planet that time flies when you are having fun. Understand, it is not that time is accelerating. You are not creating as much of it when you live in the moment, in the now, in the present.
Yeah, well, does that mean, what do you mean by in the present? Does that mean including, I thought of that just in terms of...
Many times...
What does the moment mean? What do you mean by the
Thank
moment?
you.
Yeah.
Many times allowing yourself to simply recognize that every single moment of time you experience is its own, as you have just been sharing, its own moment, its own reality, just as valid, just as insightful, just as experiential, just as much of a learning experience as any other moment. Then you will not strive to achieve future moments, because you will know that any other moment you will ever experience is not going to be better than the one you are experiencing now, just different. In this way, many times you will find that because of the way you have thought of time and space, that the phenomena you have described, the apparent slowing down or freezing of a moment, can occur when you are in fact completely absorbed in that moment. It will seem to be one eternal moment, which is what it is.
Yeah. What could you define the state where an individual could, by will, transport himself from one space or one time to another? Is there any type of mastership or something where that is said to be an ability?
In a sense, but it's simply all it takes is the idea of the cognization of the frequency of any other idea that represents another universe. The automatic cognition of that frequency will place you in that universe.
So what is it that makes someone... What's the difference between those that can do it and those that can't?
Agreement. Timing. You have a reason for being where you are and staying there. When it serves you to be that flexible, you will be. Simply recognize that if it is something that excites you, keep yourself open to the possibility that it could occur at any moment.
Yes. I've heard the categories of levels of being, as Christ was like an A3 and then or an A15. Is that having meaning to you in terms of a...
Not to us.
Yeah.
It may to the individuals doing the labeling,
yeah.
But it is only labeling. It is only a perspective to allow the individual to, in this way, have created a reference point for themselves that they require for their own understanding of their perspective of their lives. But it has no meaning in and of itself other than what the individual gives it. Do recognize that, in a sense, from within the so-called hierarchy, there is no hierarchy. Only from the idea of something that considers itself to be separate from the rest of all that is the creation of levels and hierarchy a part of that reality.
You've mentioned that an individual is the reality they are creating.
Yes.
I've had an experience, and I've talked to you about this before, of being not only in the experience, but being outside as a remote viewpoint as well.
Hey, you can create that illusion.
Okay, but in other words, viewing myself, isn't that in a sense the higher self?
Can be, in a sense. In a sense. It is still part of the overall creation. No matter how many perspectives define it, it is still one overall point of view.
Well, I've oriented my, I guess, comparisons or such by how many actual steps outside I can be in and also outside.
All right. Then that labeling has meaning for you, and that is your unique way of understanding the reality that you are. For you, it is valid.
All right. Part of me has a fear of getting totally committed to an idea to the exclusion of other experiences. So why
would you exclude any experience that is necessary for you to be the idea you chose to be? You are simply not understanding your own terminology. In this sense, you are, by definition, not able to exclude an idea that needs to be there to support the idea you are. You cannot, in that sense, lose track of anything that has to do with being there as a necessary support mechanism to be the idea you are. Whatever it is you are experiencing, that is what you need to be experiencing. Whatever you are not experiencing, you do not need it. If you need it, you will experience it.
Is it considered in your point of view or your level wiser to have a remote point of view, being inside?
All points of view are equal. All.
All right, but that doesn't answer the question.
Yes, it does. We do not consider any particular point of view any wiser than any other. It is what it is, because that is what you have created yourself to be. Therefore, the point of view you have is the only perfect point of view for you at that time.
All right, but I'm talking multiplicity, being a source and being a not source.
I think you are missing the point. The idea of being multiple is one idea, one point of view, that may contain many fragment definitions, but in an overall sense it is still one point of view. The point of view of experiencing multiplicity is one point of view.
Okay.
Thank you.
Sure. In your opening, you talked about changing an externalized symbol will change as your perception changes. Can you give me some examples of that in related to my life?
In this way, once again, you may always use the foundational understanding that no situation has built-in meaning. Everything is fundamentally neutral until you supply the meaning. Thus, the meaning you supply to a situation is the effect you get out of it. You follow me?
I follow that part of it.
Therefore, again, the analogy that we have used many times, in this sense, the idea of attempting to be on time to catch a vehicle to go somewhere. And in your terms, you miss the vehicle. Now, the neutrality of the situation is that the vehicle is moving to its next destination and you are simply not on it. That is all there is to it. That is the only thing that defines the situation in that way. Now, whatever meaning you decide to give to it as a symbol for you, negative and or positive, may determine in that way what the experience is that you have as an outcome. If you determine that it was a negative symbol in that way, then you perhaps will blind yourself to opportunities that were there for you in a positive way. Perhaps the idea, as we have said, that if you decide it is a negative event, you will be blinded by your judgment and your frustration and your rage and go stomping off to complain to somebody about it. Perhaps having missed the idea that a friend of yours you have not seen in 10 years has just stepped off of that vehicle And if you had given it a positive idea, perhaps you would have seen them, and perhaps that friend could have met you with exactly what you needed. The idea that you were going to travel 200 miles for in the first place. You did not have to travel any longer because the idea of your friend stepping off of that train or whatever vehicle has given you the idea. If you were willing to simply understand that the vehicle has left for a good reason and in your terms will serve some purpose for you, then you will utilize the symbol in a positive way and not the negative way you may have formerly decided to imbue it with. You follow me?
Yes.
Will that have been of assistance to you?
Thank you.
Thank you. Hey.
That reminds me, when we met with you, Terry and your mother and I and stuff,
Hey.
you gave the analogy of missing a train.
Hey.
And if you judge it as negative or if it is good or whatever, you might be a friend because you missed it. And I wanted you to know that we had that excerpt on our answering machine, and it was the funniest thing because it elicited very definite responses. Some people knew it was you. Some people had no idea who it was. Some people thought it was an actor. Some people thought it was Dan Aykroyd. I mean, they had no idea who it was. But it was great because I learned a lot about the individuals because of their responses.
Thank you for your creativity. Thank you. Turn.
Sir,
Hey.
I read an article recently of a so-called communication that was received jointly by a Russian and American radio receivers for the radio waves in outer space for civilization. And the message that had been interpreted according to them was something along the lines of urgent, we are in peril, we are in time, 159.061, I forget the exact number. We are in 4th galaxy, attempting to get to 12th galaxy. There has been an explosion, please help out. Could you explain, I don't know the literature, but could you explain how something like this could happen, where they would be trapped in time and wouldn't be able to progress?
In this way, you recognize that many civilizations are still utilizing, no matter how quote-unquote advanced you may think they are, ideas that involve the idea of limitation, the utilization of the materiality of the universe, and in this way, like many incidents, there can be within an individual a need to experience a so-called accident in that way. The methodology may simply be that the field that, let us say, isolates a craft from any particular universe in that way may undergo a type of fluctuation that will allow them to exist in a quasi-planar reality, so to speak, halfway in and halfway out of any solidification. You follow me?
Yes.
In this case, however, what you are referring to does not specifically refer to such an incident.
Okay.
This is something that stems more from your own civilization.
You think it's made it up?
Yes and no. Let us say it is a conglomerate idea between individuals upon your planet to explore semi-consciously, mostly subconsciously, desires, reading patterns into energies that represent ideas they wish to share, but that in and of themselves do not necessarily represent an event in what you would call real time.
Right, okay. Another thing I'd like to bring up is the I don't know what you call it, the anti-gravity device. I'm interested in filming that. I don't know how much I'd be able to capture with it, but can you give me any pointers on what, where I could stand or the sort of thing I might be able to capture on video? It seems that if whatever's going to happen is going to be over very quickly.
In this way, at least 10 of your feet distance.
Right.
That is all.
Okay.
Sure!
Bashar?
Hey!
I just wanted to say that on Saturday, my next door neighbor needed to borrow some stamps, and then quickly drew me into a conversation to ask me questions about changes in her life, and her job was probably going to be ending.
Hey.
And so I had the opportunity to share with her a lot of the information that I have gleaned out of these.
Thank you. This is why we discussed this very event last night of your time.
Yeah. And just wanted to say that it was really an extremely pleasant opportunity to have the chance to feed that knowledge that I have picked up back out to her, and to thank you for your...
We thank each and every one of you for being such lovely opportunities. Sharing.
Can you reflect the legend, love, and energy, and what the connection
Not
is?
at this time. There are other ideas that must become cohesive first from other individuals, other levels of consciousness, and other discoveries within certain individuals upon your world, before we are in a place to share that stream of consciousness within our interactions with you.
Good.
Thank you.
Do you have an idea of when that might be appropriate?
More during what you would call the 11th, the 12th, and the 1st month.
I'll postpone asking for a while.
Hey, and what you call next.
What about the people who are talent?
These are some of the connections that must continue. There will be an increase in that energy during that last of what you call the 3-month period to go through the gate of the transformation into your new year. There will be much attached to the understanding of nature and what might have been once referred to as druidic manifestations. Hey!
I have 2 questions.
All right.
One question is, I have a personal conflict.
Conflict. Why?
Well,
An opportunity.
Yes, it is an opportunity.
All right. No conflict then.
The opportunity is to understand a decision-making process,
Decision-making process.
and at the same time respecting someone else's needs.
All right. If you are functioning within the idea of integrity, if you know that everything is synchronicity, if you act like everything you interact with, there is a reason for interacting with it, then you will allow yourself to simply know that any so-called decision that needs to be made will be obvious. You do not require a process nor a conflict. You will simply understand that whatever presents itself to you as an opportunity to act upon what excites you the most within your integrity, take it. That is what it is there for. You are not responsible for anyone else. You are responsible to them by functioning with your integrity and being the fullest person you know yourself to be by doing what you know to be true for you, while knowing you are as powerful as you need to be to have anything you desire without having to hurt anyone else to get it. You follow me? Okay.
A while back, in looking at biblical stories as an opportunity to learn from,
Yay.
I had looked at the story of Adam and Eve
Hey.
as the binding of the apple, as Eve had been said to do, as humans binding on sexuality and reproduction and keeping them tied to the material plane.
To some degree, it is analogous to one of those ideas, very perceptive.
I have my discovery I'm trying to make is the discovery I'm in the process of making for myself is, as a woman, I have a little confusion about if it's appropriate to have children or if it's
Appropriate.
Appropriate because our planet these days, in some ways, is very
Whose
overwhelmed.
planet?
The planet on which I am living.
Whose?
It belongs to no one.
But it is yours. Each and every one of you, in a sense, while you are together on one planet, live on your own planet, independently.
And respectfully.
What is the planet to you? What are you choosing to buy into in terms of other beliefs? Or can you simply allow the planet you live on to be representative of what you know to be true for you? Do you follow me?
I miss you.
All right. I'll come back. Your planet is not overpopulated. You simply have not utilized the room that you have. You follow me?
Yes.
Your planet is undergoing many transformations. Whether you decide that they are going to be positive or negative depends upon what you wish to make of a fundamentally neutral observation or situation. So what kind of a world do you live on? What kind of a world will you, if you decide to have children, bring children into? It will be the world you decide to live and make an agreement with them to bear them into. Not a world you are at the mercy of, because then you are only believing in victimhood and not believing in your own self-empowerment to experience the world you desire and you prefer, no matter what anyone else is living. You will experience what you know to be true for you, unless you choose to buy into someone else's belief about what the world is supposed to be. You follow me?
Yes, but I don't know if you're following me.
Proceed.
So my confusion about having children is the opportunities I see before me
Okay.
in devoting my energy to being a healer and spending my time learning that role versus
learning the role. Are you a healer or not?
Yes.
All right then.
Expanding my skills.
All right.
And versus spending the time raising a child. And
why are you separating the two?
I've obviously chosen to separate them.
All right. Do you think that the idea of a child at this time would not allow you to be the idea of a healer? All right. Then simply recognize this. Why would you have one if it didn't fit the idea you are being? How would you even be able to have one if it didn't fit the idea you were being? You would not make such an agreement. No spirit would make such an agreement with you. Therefore, you would not have one if it did not fit the idea you are being. You follow me?
Yes.
So what decision needs to be made? If you are an idea, and the supporting of that idea does not contain the notion of needing a child, you will not have one. If you do have one, then that in and of itself is a sign that it can occur and still allow you to be a healer. And perhaps it even is part of the idea of being a healer. You follow me?
Yes.
So relax. Your agreements in this way will only result in the physical manifestation of the reality that supports you in the idea you have chosen to be in this life. Nothing will ever go against the grain. The universe does not do pointless and extraneous things. You follow me?
Yes.
Only you have the ability to think that it does and create the illusion that it is so. But it is only an illusion. It is only a lack of willingness to understand that everything that occurs in your reality is a part of the path you chose to be and cannot by definition be an interruption in it. Nothing can be where it doesn't belong. If something is there, it is an indication that there are beliefs that have invited it to be there. Therefore, it belongs according to the belief that you have. Thank you.
Sure.
Yes.
There's something happening here in the state of California and also through Mexico, Florida, or New Mexico, places like that. There is an inordinate amount of immigrants from the South, from Central America, from Europe, from Asia, and the Orient that are crossing the border into California.
It is not inordinate, according to the idea of the blendings and the removal of borders that you are creating in your transformation.
Well, I understand. I said inordinate because there is quite a bit of talk about it.
All right.
And, in a sense, it is blending, But in a sense, it is also creating separation because there's a lot of antagonism between the...
It is not creating separation.
Well,
Your chosen judgments are creating separation.
the people in California are creating separation with the people who are living in...
All right.
And did you comment on this?
It is an opportunity to choose not to create separation. What more is there to say? It is up to you to decide how you will interpret the blending.
How do you get to the antagonistic people when you get them to realize that you can't create separation?
Again, you are not responsible for anyone else. Be the idea you know is true for you. And if you allow yourself to become active in those interplays, then perhaps some of you will rub off on some of them. Oh, yes, you do.
Not the same verbal language.
So, what?
That's what I communicate mostly.
Oh, really? That is your decision. Thank you. It is a matter of not talking about something you want to change, but changing yourself and interacting as that idea. Participating. If you find something to be exciting to get involved with, get involved. If you are just going to talk about it, then do what it is that truly excites you, and don't worry about it. Someone else is excited to be involved in it, if not you. Thank you. Yay! Yay!
My little sister, Mariano, from second monastery. What you said there's a point to everything. What was the point to that? Why did that happen?
That is all she required of physical life. Many times, a so-called soul, in this way, will have ideas about what it wishes to experience in any physical life. Some of these experiences simply do not require much time. That is all there is to it. Therefore, that individual put a timing limit, all that was necessary. When certain ideas had already been experienced, it finished the balance, it finished the momentum from the last life. That is all that individual needed to round out their experience and to evolve in the way they wish to evolve as a soul. You follow me? Now, our perception is that our individual is or will be soon incarnate again. Because they have completed their cycle before this incarnation in that way, this incarnation will be for the primary purpose of service.
Can you tell me if he's been incarnated already?
Unclear.
Has she come back for more service?
To be of service. 8. In the transformation will be recognized, so to speak, as a soul of light, soul of peace, soul of service. In this way, do recognize that the choice of the methodology of the physical death, what you call drowning, in that sense, is a quote-unquote relatively peaceful way to exit the body. The feeling is as if you are going to sleep. You follow me? Mm-hmm. The being will now awaken into light and love, and choose the reincarnation to be of service to bring that light and love to your world. There may be an opportunity for that individual to interact with many other individuals through the symbology of the unconscious, the subconscious, and all the things that represent the idea that is symbolized by water and the fears that may be buried within it for many individuals. That is all. Thank you.
Bashar.
Yes!
I saw a tape on Luis Gasparello, and on that tape he was describing a couple who were attending his clinic, and the wife was having a great deal of anxiety and trouble in her life. And he attributed it to the fact that she had scientifically opened herself up, and an individual who had died had not wanted to come to terms with the fact that he was dead. He had attached himself to her scientifically and was creating all these problems for her.
Yes, an agreement they made together.
Yeah. And he chose to remedy the situation by talking to the individual who had passed away, would the woman not be open to that same sort of thing again by her not?
Not necessarily. If they had agreed in that way to form that kind of a coalition for the purpose of allowing that skill to be resurrected in your society. In this way, also to understand that there are many opportunities still remaining in the physical life of that person to allow themselves to balance out their own understanding of their own self-empowerment and come to terms with their own expressions in life. Simply in this way, what was being done was the idea, the ancient, so to speak, idea of what you now refer to as an exorcist. For in this way you will find that the original purpose is, as we have said, a spirit psychologist who allows the spirit to know they have died and they can go on.
What is the spirit experiencing in your so-called intelligentity world, an individual minute?
So-called. Experience that they think is simply representative of the life they have always had, although the majority of them will find some quote-unquote confusion in the reality they are experiencing. Certain things will not make sense.
If there's a conscious awareness at that point, is the spirit consciously aware that they're creating trouble for the individual?
Not necessarily, no.
What purpose would be served by creating problems for them?
Again, you are calling it a problem, but it is not a problem. It is an opportunity for certain things to be realized in your world again. They have made an agreement to do so. They are connected in that way, that woman and that spirit.
Okay, let me rephrase the question. What would be what purpose why she would choose to experience the negativity?
Oh, simply buying into the belief systems that your society has taught her about her experiences. If those belief systems did not exist in your society, and in that way, then there would have been more opportunity for that individual to know that from the very beginning of the interaction, she was perfectly fine and not quote-unquote crazy.
Yeah.
You follow me?
Yeah.
That is all. An opportunity to understand the limitations that can occur when you impose a rigidized structure upon your belief system.
From your perspective, he was talking about in his ability to make these decisions. He surmised that are there possible chances connecting with the actual consciousness of the individual, or that he was possibly connected to a greater bank of knowledge that possibly those individuals themselves were tapping into?
In a sense, it is both. For in this way you will find that like vibrations will cluster into a mass non-physical consciousness and thus in a sense form their own dimension of experience from which this individual is drawing, and at the same time carry with it all of the different signature, quote-unquote, vibrations that go into making up that dimension, so it can be differentiated in that way. It is like saying you are drawing from a pool that does contain the flavors of all the different individuals that make it up. Thank you!
Bashar, on the idea of the agreement that the spirit made, is that the same idea as someone's in the hospital and they're there for whatever reason, and during an operation something may be very open, and a soul dies in that same hospital and then connects to that person? Is that an agreement that they made?
Everything is.
So it's not like...
There is nothing that occurs by accident.
Why don't we treat it then like an agreement instead of like something so negative?
You tell me.
Well, this is the first I've thought about the agreement as being made that way. Because most people think of it as some kind of a discarnate glomming on to another person to hurt them.
That is the way you have conceived of all the ideas in your society, the idea of victimhood. It is your opportunity to recognize that you can answer your own question by living the kind of life that will allow an opportunity for individuals to recognize that it can be viewed another way.
So the spirit can really be talked to and then allowed to go on.
Of course.
In love and life.
Yes. Oh, thank you.
A couple things. First of all, with regard to creating your own reality and being excited about something. I want to ask you, if I am very excited about channeling. But if I come into this life with an agreement that I'm going to be at a certain stage in my involvement when I commence channeling,
many of these ideas have the ability in this transformational life to fluctuate wildly. In this way, it is up to you to determine the timing based upon your willingness to simply allow it to occur.
So, if I don't perceive that a process is necessary, a process is not necessary.
Correct.
Okay.
And then paradoxically, whatever process is necessary will be there.
Right. Okay. The other thing is, a pretty famous aspect, and if this is observed before eventually, many of us will find that we do not feel like we have to eat it. I basically found that I could go for a day without eating and not feel any weakness or anything. And during the past couple of months, if I forget to have a meal or something, all of a sudden I feel very weak. And it has more of an effect on me than it ever did in the past. And I'm thinking, well, maybe I'm just transiting backwards.
Do you find that you create the weakness when you forget? When you realize you have forgotten?
No. I feel weak and then I think,
all right.
Maybe if I eat something. And I eat something and I feel fine.
All right. Then you're simply paying attention to your body consciousness. Follow your timing. You will acclimate. Do not chastise yourself for having missed your timing. The weakness is your signal that now is the timing.
Right. I just found it strange because that's never happened to me before, not that the past bit, the present past. And the other thing I want to say is that I love you and I regard you and your society as a wonderful gift.
And we you. Thank you.
I wonder if you could tell me anything about my mother's mother who died of cancer when I was very young. Could you tell me if she reincarnated or...
Not yet.
Do you have any information?
Are you thinking of having a child?
Yes.
When?
Probably within the next 2 years.
All right. Say hello to her. For that opportunity is open to you. Oh, I have done nothing. No, you have reflected it to yourself. For you were the one that made the conscious connection to inquire in this synchronistic timing. Thereby, that is an indication that you have already recognized a connection and an agreement in the formation between you and she.
Do you know if she will incarnate as a male or female?
That is not decided. Our perception at this time is that the energy is likely to be female. But that is not decided.
Bashar,
Thank you! Right!
can you recommend an approach to giving up self-judgment?
Yes. Don't do it. How about beginning by not judging that you have self-judgment?
There you go.
Okay.
Now, in what way has your judgment served you?
Well, it certainly has made itself known to me.
For what purpose?
Well, it's given me an increased awareness of my inner self.
Ah! Then why are you judging it? The second you recognize it has served you in a positive way, you do not contain self-judgment anymore. It is gone.
Yes. Thank you.
But thank you. 'Tis your doing.
For sure.
It is that simple. It is that simple. May I also remind you that it is that simple. Thank you for allowing it to be so simple.
Thank you.
Bashar, speaking of grandmothers, I had a best friend that was my grandmother. When she died, I never it's like the day she died was repeated for 8 years, and just I could think about it and go into tears, just like a best friend.
Why are you saying was? That is why you are going into tears. Why not is still? Why not is still?
Okay, on a physical level, I can't talk to her. That's the part of me that's disturbed.
So, physical communication is the only form of communication in the galaxy, in the universe, in creation?
Well, okay, I'm not clear if there is a communication there. It's not substantial enough.
Why does it have to be substantial in the terms you think only represent substantiality? Why not simply allow the feeling that you have for that individual to be the communication between you?
Can I have that again?
Allow the feeling that you have for that individual and the imagined feeling that you have from that individual to be the communication that is going on between you.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I can acknowledge that. That wasn't enough for the longest time. That wasn't.
How about now?
Okay.
You do not have to settle for it.
Give me a moment.
All right. Time's up. Do you hear your laughter? That is communication to every level, every dimension. Hear hers. Send your love and know it is received. Let yourself know you are receiving her love.
You know, it's interesting because that rift in physical illusion is what has drawn me into all sorts of metaphysical things.
Many individuals will do that to lure you to more of yourself. They will form an agreement with you. They will die first. You will go searching for a connection to them that lures you to more and more expansion of your own awareness of yourself. That is why you made the agreement that way.
Okay. One question is a byproduct. Sometimes when people talk about eerie things like that...
Eerie?
Well, I call it eerie. I get goosebumps.
You call it eerie. Some people call it spooky.
What are goosebumps? Just like an electrical reaction, or what's the deal there?
In a sense, it is a slightly judgmental reaction to you tapping into the live wire of your own core experience and core connection to all other levels of existence and consciousness. It is an adrenaline surge, an excitement surge, an electromagnetic surge that lets you know you are in fact in touch with all levels of consciousness that you desire to be. In other words, because of what you have created your society to be, it is the shock of the surprise of getting what you asked for. You follow me?
Yes.
Thank you!
Thank you.
Bashar?
Yes!
I find myself in a period where
Found
I'm
yourself.
very impatient. Ready to make a move, but almost hesitant to.
I see.
Is there a time where I will know that it's...
Yes, right now. Because you are willing to discover and discuss this idea, the time is always now. In this way, recognize, you will not experience impatience when you do not create a need for patience. If you are living in the now moment and enjoying every moment for what it is, you will not create the impatience based upon your need for patience because you think you have to wait for another moment to come along that will be better than the one you are experiencing now. You follow me?
Yeah.
Live now. That's how. Enjoy every moment that you are. That is how to be where you want to go. One more time. That is how to be where you want to go.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bashar, when you say
Hey.
we live in the now, I get the feeling, my personal interpretation of that is, oh shit, I got to take what's coming down the pipe.
That means you already assume that what is coming is going to be negative. Therefore, you are creating a negative effect.
All right. Suppose, well, I have very little negativity, but there is that conceptual expectation that live in the now you're not saying create the now. Do you mean the same thing, or what
Yes.
what gives?
Yes.
Okay.
You are the now.
All right. I can understand that.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bashar?
Then you.
Okay. Given the fact that all the answers are really inside of us, to the degree that I am at one with the idea of that, is the degree that I can pose any questions and go inside and...
Yes. It is also, again, not necessarily needing that interim step one more time. Not so much that the answers are in you, but that you are the answers themselves. You are the situation itself. When you simply know you are the situation, you are at the vibratory level of the situation. Therefore, because you are the situation, you understand immediately everything that has to do with the situation. Because you are it.
So when that woman asked you about her mother's mother, her grandmother's mother,
Right.
and you become that situation?
Yes. Then you understand everything there is to understand and need to know about it.
And
what is not there, you don't need it.
Somehow I thought you tapped into the vibrations.
Well, yes, in a sense. But again, that's a separation. Because you are assuming that the vibrations are something that you are not already. That you have to tap into something you are not already being.
And you become the answer to the question by...
in a sense, yes.
By...
You simply are the state of existence that is the definition of the situation you are being. So any information that you need, you become. You know what you need to know when you need to know it. Immediately.
Without thinking,
You
I
simply
become this
sense it. You know it. You are it. You function from your intuition.
Okay, so to heighten that knowingness, or to heighten my sensitivity, again, I don't want to, this is a whole bit of a process, and this process is coming up between
Live
the
now,
right,
that,
now, right.
how.
That's it.
That's it. It is that simple. It is that simple. And that individual over there will remind you, once again, that it is that simple.
That's simple.
Nice! Thank you! Nice!
Bashar, 2 weeks ago I was in Washington, D.C., and I met 3 people. A person by the name of Peg, Jean, and Liz. And all 3 of us came to work for a common purpose. At what point in our lives did we decide to make an agreement to do that?
Both before and at the moment.
Okay, but when before?
Now, in a sense, this is only going to be a convenient labelization. With one individual, 7 lifetimes ago, with another 5, and with another 3.
Did you hang names on those?
No,
Why?
because it doesn't matter.
7, 5, 3 times ago, my lifetime.
A shared lifetime.
We made an agreement to be in Washington, D.C. to work on a campaign.
Not with the degree of specificity you are saying. In whatever energy terms that understanding was felt, and so it was continued. And you picked up more and more individuals along the way to represent the conglomeration you would need to interact with in this lifetime, this being the transformational life.
Well, what prompted the 4 of us to end up in Washington, D.C. at that time?
Is that not the idea of what you call the hub of your government?
Well, that's true. But
In this way.
It doesn't correlate to the hub of the government.
Oh, yes, it does.
Right,
Not on a
let's try
conscious
that.
level.
Let's try it.
Your energy, your presence. The fact that you, as a conglomerate mass consciousness crystal radiating at the frequency that you radiated at in that area, made a difference and had an effect on the surrounding individuals. You are part of an interaction.
You want to tell me more?
Within what you call 3 of your years, it will become more obvious to you. as to the idea of how the interactions of seemingly innocuous situations can have a profound build-up of effect at what you call a later date. You will find yourself drawn back into similar situations.
Same for you.
This is all we can share. Also allow us to remind you that what we have said, in a sense, is mostly symbolic. Not that there is not literalness to it, but we have said what we have said as we perceive that what we have shared with you is what needs to be shared with you to spur the energies within you in certain ways that you desire to be spurred. Cryptic though it may seem, cryptic is the way it needs to be right now to assist you according to our perception of the energy that you are dealing with. The very notion of your term, cryptic, may even play a part in time to come. All right.
That's all you want to share with us?
It is all we are allowed at this time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
For sure.
One moment. Would you name the three names?
James, Cook, Liz Einstein, Craig Roswell.
What is the signature vibration of your last name?
Austin.
There is an opportunity for more individuals to come into play in this interaction. You have made agreements with more than just those. You will discover them in times to come and perhaps in different cities in your country. One of these individuals can be in the area you call either your Arizona or New Mexico. One in the city you call Seattle. Others may be in what you call other countries. But bit by bit, you will come together more and more and more. The more of you that are present, the more cognition you will have together as to the reasons for why you have agreed to share what you are sharing. Enjoy. In a sense, it is a meeting of the board of the particular type of reality you have agreed to be together. You will regroup and regroup and regroup when and where you need to, with all the members that you need to. It will become more clearly evident the lines and directions of energy that will make themselves obvious to you, that will excite you all together, will be clearly representative of the ideas you have chosen to explore. Once again, we bid you excitement and joy at all you will discover about yourselves. Thank you.
Thank you.
Guys.
Yes. Back to the slowing down time or speeding up time when being in present time.
Thanks.
I don't quite understand that. Maybe I'm missing the definition.
Do you not say that time flies when you are having fun?
Yes.
Are you not having fun when you are enjoying what you are doing at the moment without a care of what is coming tomorrow?
Mm-hmm.
Then living in the moment is what that means. Everything that occurs in your life, enjoy it to the fullest.
So is Is that speeding up of time?
It is creating less of it.
Oh,
Separation creates more time. Integration creates less. Because you think time is an absolute, you experience the creation of less time as a so-called illusion of acceleration or speeding up. But it is only because you are removing frames that it seems to be sped up. You follow the analogy? Are you sure?
Kind of.
You have the idea you call a film, yes?
Right. Yeah.
If you maintain all the frames within the film that need to be there to give you a sense of regular motion is what you perceive upon your screen. If you remove some of the frames, the film seems to be sped up.
But actually,
you are taking away. You follow me? You are not creating as much of it in order to speed it up.
what is the definition of time?
One of the ideas, as you have already said upon your own planet, it is a very literal interpretation. It is your invention to keep everything from happening all at once. So that you can experience yourself as a limited being. Space-time is one of the definitions of physical reality, because it is one of the dimensions in which you can experience the idea of separation, forgetting. You follow me?
Sure.
That is what it is.
Gotcha.
You are a simultaneous event. You exist everywhere and every when. To give yourself the limited viewpoint of having a single track, you create the notion of time, which is simply the focusing on a particular vibratory frequency of all that you are. Looking through one aperture at a time. Thank you!
Bashar,
Yes!
is there any way that you can kind of span the gap between what you just said, being able to focus through that one aperture and be on third density, and at the same time be totally aware of every when and where?
You will be as aware of as many whens and wheres as you need to be to also maintain your agreed upon function in this reality. However, the answer is still live now. Because when you live in the moment, you are at the crux point, the crossroad point, the connection point to all other realities you are. Thus, living in the moment is still the way to connect up to all the other ones. You follow me? Living in the now, living in the present, allows you to know that you are in contact with all other time frames, all other frames of consciousness, all other frames of dimensions. Only when you do not live in the now do you impose a wall and a barrier that creates what you call the illusion of past, the illusion of future, the illusion of alternate realities, parallel realities. When you live in the now moment, you are only experiencing the one eternal moment in which everything exists. Thus, it is, quote-unquote, easier to see all of the other things that exist in the eternal moment when you live in it.
I understand that, but there doesn't appear to be the same amount of consciousness. I mean, it's very real to me, the concept that you just described, but being conscious of it, for some reason there is more of a clarity.
That is simply because of the definition of the agreement you have made to live in this reality. Do not force yourself. Live your life. Live whatever it is you are aware of living in the now. That is what will paradoxically allow you to be more aware of more of it when you need to, in order to still fulfill the agreement you made for this life as well. There are certain ideas and limitations you have imposed upon yourselves so that you can live out this life the way you chose to.
What if what excites me is the fact that I've finished the purpose of living the limitation? And
then you will no longer be here. If you have in fact finished, by definition, you will not be in this reality.
What if I've finished but I want to assist others? And
then you have not finished. If you find that you can assist others and serve by the ideas you are discussing, then simply trust that your imagination will give you whatever methodologies are required for you to explore those realms. and then be of service by sharing those experiences with others, to allow them to know there is more to themselves than also they may be aware of. But in this way, recognize living in the now is still the way to find yourself in contact with all that you ever are or will experience yourself to be.
But isn't that, based on what you said before, almost a paradox in that, you often say that, we're always looking for a way, a methodology, right?
Yes, it is a paradox in that sense. But in this way, what we are describing is not so much a methodology as it is a description of your state of being. You only do exist in the now. You don't exist anywhere or anywhen else.
So one way maybe to assist others would be to communicate that idea.
Right. The more you communicate it, perhaps, the more you will believe it, and therefore the more you will experience that that is so.
Yeah, it's totally real to me that that is so.
All right.
But maybe not as real as it could be. Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
Sure.
Sir.
Normally, my dream recall is very, very good, very sharp.
Thank you.
This past week, it has not been.
So?
Well, two questions. I want to relate to.
We have discussed, first of all, one of the ideas that a dream, what you are calling a dream, is a symbolic creation to allow you to know that there is a connection between your physical reality and your dream reality. But when you no longer are separating them as much, when you are blending your dream reality, your physical reality, you no longer need a link or a bridge symbol to remember, because they are becoming one and the same experience. So, not remembering your so-called dreams is an indication that you are beginning to live them, not keep them separate from your physical reality, and thereby have to create a dream memory to know that you were busy when you were asleep. You follow me?
I follow you, but I'm even a little more confused.
Right.
Out of the entire week, two particular incidents from two separate dreams are the only things that stay with me.
All right.
The rest of it is completely gone.
Okay.
I'll tell you what those are, but before that, why would I have any incident stay with me if in fact there is that blending now?
Because those incidents may represent the idea that in those particular areas you are still creating separation. And thus it gives you an opportunity to deal with it, integrate it, and blend it. Thus, you have cleared the board of everything except the essentials that you now need to face in order to allow the blending to continue. Everything else is taking care of itself, so you don't need to see it. You don't need to remember it. You are only focusing upon that which are the remnants of the separation.
Let me tell you the two incidents.
All right.
One of them makes sense to me based upon the last conversation we had. The other one is a little shaky.
All right.
One of them was I simply found myself putting on someone else's shoes
Right.
and walking in them,
Right.
realizing they didn't fit, and trying to find the person to give them back.
All right.
And again, that does have bearing.
All right.
The second thing, it didn't make a great deal of sense to me. I just remember seeing glitter on my knee and trying to brush it off. What was that specifically?
In this way, at this time, our perception of that particular symbology may represent an inward recognition of your own luminescence, your own light, your own magic. It is not something that you can get rid of, per se. It is something that is a part of you. It is something that supports you. And at the same time, while being quote-unquote rigid enough to support you, as is your leg, your knee, like the idea of your self-illumination, also gives you flexibility, the ability to move. That is our perception of the symbology.
Would you comment on the first?
Simply your opportunity to recognize that you know what is true for you, and that you do not have to accept someone else's reality if it does not pertain to your vibration.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. The second idea simply is more quote-unquote esoteric in symbology, because the experience you had in your dream reality that allows you to become cognizant of that awareness of your self-illumination is more, let us say, farther removed from physical reality, so your physical consciousness does not have as many symbols to rely upon to create a symbolic interpretation. You follow me?
Yes, I do.
Thank you. You may all take a short break. Thank you. Hey.
Last night I asked you about brainstorming and this self-motivation. It did say to me that I should take my power in this relationship. And I just need some clarification on that. I was wondering if right now I'm maintaining silence and not communicating with this person.
Why?
Because I don't feel this relationship is good for me.
Good for you. What have you learned from it?
A lot, but I don't feel that continuing is beneficial.
In this way, then simply, as we have suggested, take back your power and again act upon that which excites you the most.
Well, you mean to say just let the relationship go?
It is not that it will go anywhere, it will simply transform into whatever definition befits what you prefer to be. Physical proximity has nothing to do with the fact that the relationship will continue. It will continue even if you never see each other physically again. That will simply be the definition of your relationship. The idea is to be what you know to be true for you. Period. Act upon that with the understanding that if you simply recognize what is true for you and act upon it, then you will attract whatever you need. You follow me? Take back your power means stop looking for others to make decisions for you. Know that if you know what you prefer, then act upon that. If you prefer that the idea of the relationship not be in physiological proximity, then act upon that. Go where you wish to go. Be who you wish to be. You follow me? Are you sure? You think so? What is not clear?
Well, given that this person was different in some way, and he liked
Why?
friendship. Because
The relationship will continue on whatever level it needs to continue to befit what both of you create the relationship to be, but it will not have an opportunity to continue in the sense of the way you prefer it to continue until you are acting like the person you know yourself to be. You follow me? When you are representing yourself truly as to who you are, then is when you give the relationship the best opportunity to continue in a way that is reflective of your willingness centered to yourself. Represent yourself reality to understand you and maintain you on some level, then they will. If they don't, then that is the way the relationship needs to be maintained from their point of view. You have lived up to your end by supplying all of the accurate information about what it is you are all about, thus giving the opportunity to be. Beyond that, you are not responsible for their reactions.
well, the last time that I was in communication with him, I was communicating with myself.
So, Then what did you do? Then what is your so-called difficulty?
Well, I moved away.
Yes.
And
Was that according to your preference?
yes.
All right.
I never made an attempt to get back in touch with him.
All right. So,
But I feel that if he wanted to contact me, he could.
all right. Have you given him an opportunity to do so, or the means to do so?
I don't. Well, my old phone number has recording that transfers the new number. So if he wanted to call the new number, he could.
So then what is the point?
I don't think there's a need. I think that
The relationship is what it is according to what you prefer to be. There is no need to place expectations upon what you think it should be. It is what it is according to what you prefer to be. Now, if you prefer something else, then be something else and act like something else. But if you prefer the way you are, then act like you prefer the way you are. And do not worry or wonder about what is going on with someone else.
well, I just wanted clarity. If you felt I should continue as I am,
I will never tell you whether you should or should not do anything. If you prefer where you are, continue. If you don't, don't.
well, you should take your power. And I just wondered.
Take your power means just what I just told you. If you prefer where you are, continue. If you don't, don't. Do not seek within me the knowledge of what you should or should not do. That is giving me your power, rather than simply exercising what you already know to be true for you and acting upon it.
Well, I just interpreted it to mean that I should not communicate.
Why? There is nothing in the idea of taking your power that implies that you should or should not communicate with him. If you feel like communicating with that individual, do so. If you know that you can communicate with that individual and still be who you prefer to be, do so if that is what you wish to do. Communicating with that individual in and of itself does not mean you are not being who you prefer to be. It does not have to mean that you are not functioning within your integrity, that you are not living up to your principles. It depends on how you define the reasons for why you are communicating with that individual. You follow me? All right. Thank you.
Bashar,
Hey!
you speak of what excites you a lot.
Hey!
That's the driving force or something.
Yes. It is the manifesting force.
Can you elaborate a little more on it? Because I don't feel excitement, every day of my life. I don't know that many people that do. That's the driving force.
You do not feel excitement.
Not a lot. I associate it with, Christmas morning or,
What is
roller
today?
coaster rides.
What is today?
Today?
Yes, today.
The usual.
Usual.
Boring.
Usual.
Yeah.
Why?
Life gets routine. Sometimes.
Routine.
Mm-hmm.
Life does not get routine. You create it to be routine.
So we should create excitement even at the expense of others, or
How can the creation of excitement be at the expense of others?
I don't know. Some of the things I think of would be.
Such as?
Well, I don't know, like burglarizing something.
The creation of excitement within the expression of integrity. Does that change the definition for you?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Again, the idea of excitement fundamentally is recognizing that you are as powerful as you need to be to do anything you want without having to hurt anyone else to get it.
How can you create it, though? I mean,
by doing what you want to do within your integrity. By discontinuing the assumption that you have to do certain things that do not excite you in order to live. Thus, you will not create a routine. You will be spontaneous within your integrity. And that will be exciting. Do you understand?
yes, I do. Thank you.
Are you more excited?
I'll tell you tomorrow.
I will take your laughter as a yes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Done!
In that same context, I find that a lot of times a lot of happiness or excitement runs through my life, and I feel like I'm just not worrying about tomorrow or the next day. Or
Yes. There is no reason why you should.
But just take the excitement and run rampant with it, huh?
Live it.
Thank you.
I see. Thank you.
Bashar,
Okay.
question.
All right.
Very happy with my life now, but I cannot remember much of my childhood.
That is all right.
But it must have been good. I mean, I had good.
All right, if you say so.
Yeah. Why? Why wouldn't I be able to remember if it was good?
Maybe because you do not need to, because you are so happy now.
Possibly.
Any other reason you might think?
No, I don't know. I don't know why. I feel
right.
sometimes that maybe something is wrong because I can't.
Oh.
People tell me that it might be wrong because, or maybe something's wrong, something's lacking. Try to analyze something maybe missing.
Do remember that no matter what the reason for the so-called lack of memory, the idea of existing in the fourth density is that you will disassociate from remembering the past. You will simply recognize that memory is created in the present. And you will know what you need to know when you need to know it. You follow me?
I do.
Thank you!
Thank you.
Then you are, right now, a happy childhood. You follow me?
Yes.
Thank you.
Bishop?
Yes!
In trying to assist others.
In what?
In attempting...
In what?
In helping others.
Thank you. As I may remind you, I am becoming selectively third density deaf.
One of the situations that one encounters, I have to be careful what I say.
No, you do not.
Okay. One of the situations one encounters.
I. Thank you.
Is that people do tend to give you their power in the way that was expressed with your interactions tonight.
All right.
It seems to be a habit that we have in this.
Does not mean that you cannot allow yourself to know that the word habit is simply a belief that something is difficult to change and therefore does not no longer have to be a habit.
Well, we seem to have a propensity to
I.
Okay. I seem to notice that the interactions that we've had with people that have come along to try to enlighten is we tend to crucify them or something along that.
Well, that is simply because you do not believe in your own self-empowerment. You do not believe that they are a reflection of you.
Okay, in trying to, in assisting another.
Yay. If they try to give you their power, you don't have to take it. Do you?
No, definitely not.
Then you can reflect to them that they are attempting to give their power away, and you can very lovingly and politely say, no, thank you. You keep your power. Then we will be on equal terms, creating as equals. You will have whatever you want, I will have whatever I want. And what you want and what I want will serve us both. And what you want will not take away from what I want, and what I want will not take away from what you want. What you want and what I want, we will both have, and the having will enrich us both. Because we also both want the other to have what the other wants.
Okay.
Has that assisted you?
To some extent.
Would you like to explore further?
Yes.
Go ahead.
In assisting others, then we are assisting ourselves. In teaching others, we are teaching ourselves.
Of course.
Okay.
Thank you! Sure!
Bashar?
Right.
I've simplified the definition of help for me as assisting somebody in the direction they're going. And I just look where they're headed and what they've chosen and assisting them Help, I see, it used to be real confusing. Help, I had a model. What is help? Well, help is getting somebody on their feet and helping them make money and stuff. And that may not be help for some people.
Correct.
Help for some people might give them a good swift kick in the ass or something. That might be just what they needed or wanted, or that's my share.
Thank you very much. You can always maintain your assistance within your own integrity. Sure.
I have a question.
All right.
On this, what Smith's talking about, I meet people in my practice who seem to want to be sick.
Hey.
And they come to me and they say, please help me get well.
Hey.
But they don't.
And I a couple times I looked at people and I said, well, you need to assess what you get out of being sick.
All right.
Some people don't like to hear that, though.
Correct.
But there's nothing I can do.
Correct.
I just
You have done what you can do. Yes.
You
You understand that there is a reason that they have come to you, so they have gotten something out of it. You have done something. Whether you might recognize for what it is or not doesn't make a difference. Because they have interacted with you, they have gotten something out of it. Otherwise, they would never have showed up on your doorstep at all.
Makes sense.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sure!
Sir?
Hey.
It was suggested to me by an entity that if a particular opportunity comes to be offered to me, that it would serve me, and I agree, well, to function from the standpoint, this is it, quote unquote. And just take a firm stand and go for something, so to speak. From a practical standpoint...
Practical?
Right. I want to make this differentiation between practical and what it says to me, because I see the
If you insist.
Okay. From a practical standpoint, the opportunity that perhaps can be presented is desirable. But I recognize from the standpoint of what really excites me that it's not as desirable as a practical standpoint. And because I know that I'm not truly at one with the opportunity...
Is the opportunity that presents itself the most exciting thing that you are able to act upon at the moment it presents itself? Then that is a part of what excites you the most, whether it seems like it's going to get you there or not. You're only judging that it has nothing to do with what excites you the most. If what excites you the most does not give you a manifestation that presents itself in an obvious connection, then whatever does present itself as the most exciting opportunity is still representative of that path, whether it seems to be or not. We are saying act upon what excites you the most in what is available for you to act upon. Yes. That will lead you to what excites you the most.
Okay.
Thank you.
Bashar.
Yes!
What purpose is served when an entity makes a prediction of great disaster or cataclysm?
Can be for many different reasons, some of which we perceive you already recognize. In this way, it can be an opportunity for individuals to, quote unquote, fall back on their own habits or take their own power and say, it doesn't have to be that way, entity. That is not my reality. Thank you for giving me an opportunity to see reflected in your idea, your presentation, your gift, my preference that is not my reality. And thus I can be of radiant assistance to others by sharing with them how I perceive that it is not my reality, so that they can also choose that it does not have to be theirs. That is one way you can look at it. There are situations, without quote-unquote naming names, where individuals that you call the channels may also be filtering their own belief systems into the information. Thank you. Sure.
Sure.
Okay.
A day or two ago, we had a pretty good earthquake.
Hey.
And
another gateway release, crystallization.
We had one a week or so ago.
Hey.
Is the mass consciousness of the Southern California area, in your perception, to bring upon this area some sort of a disaster for?
In our perception, it is that you can recognize and do recognize that you can rechannel the energy in many different ways, causing there to be the idea of what you call minor releases and rechanneling the majority of the energy in constructive ways. That is our perception. What is yours?
Well, I don't know that much about earthquakes.
You do not have
all
to.
my life.
Do you prefer in this way, well, of course in this way, you will find that a majority of individuals living in what you call earthquake-prone areas will find that it does not so much bother them because they like the energy, they like the excitement, they like living on the edge. That is why you are here. You are rechanneling the edge of one reality and another. You are rechanneling that energy.
Well, if the mass consciousness believes that a catastrophe is the best way to get from third to fourth density, that's probably what should happen.
Probably. But also recognize that the mass consciousness of what you call your immediate area has long been noted in your own society for looking at things differently than the rest of the mass consciousness of your world. Hey! Thank you for enjoying your spookiness. To some degree, sometimes, we can, quote unquote, keep you posted as to manifestations of some of the release of that energy from time to time in different ways. Maybe. Sure. No. Hey.
Speaking in physics terms, if you were to get in your spaceship and travel in a linear direction, in linear time, the confines of the definition of the physical universe, what happens if you keep going? Is it finite? In that sense, would you just pass on to a void or something? Speaking in those terms, I know you don't.
You will find that there is, as has been described by your scientists, a curvature.
Yeah.
Travel far enough and you will wind up back at the same point.
Okay.
Does that answer your question?
Yeah, it does.
Thank you. Shooting!
Sure.
Yay.
Question. I believe that there are people just like us, probably sitting in a room just like this somewhere else in this space doing the same thing we are.
Oh.
Is there?
Yes.
Do they talk, communicate like us, look like us?
Yes. There are many parallel Earths with many similarities.
Is that against the belief that many people have in the creation of this world?
Some, yes.
So what do you believe?
Whatever you want.
Fair enough.
All realities are real. There is no one background against which to measure for accuracy. The truth is composed of all truths. Believe what you wish. It is all real. Yes and no. Shooting!
Sure.
Yeah.
I've got a short-term, I guess you'd call it a phrase to back up what you were saying. If it can be experienced, it exists. You cannot experience something which doesn't exist.
Correct.
Well, so I'd give that to you.
Thank you! Now understand what your definition of experience may mean, however, when you say that. That is not necessarily restricted to what you call physiological experience.
Right.
Thank you.
That includes the nuances and the subtleties of thought and essences.
Yes. Thank you!
Has that been some assistance?
Yes, very much! Thank you very much for your reflection and your assistance to us. For in this way, every individual makes a difference. Thank you for your service.
Bashar?
Hey!
That doesn't mean that if a tree falls in a forest and you're not there, that it didn't fall.
It may mean there is even no tree. No forest.
How about a bear?
No falling. Understand once again that the idea of your mass conscious telepathic net will support the occurrences in physical reality that no one may physically be around to witness, but which you know on some level are still being created to take place because of the overall interaction that it needs to fit into. So, as you have defined your reality, whether there is anyone physically standing around or not, generally speaking, a tree falling in the forest will make a sound and will fall. Simply because that is the reality you have defined. But it is no more or less of an illusion than anything else. You follow me? Thank you.
Thank you. Bashar?
Yes.
What if you're the kind of person
Oh,
who...
what if?
What if you're the kind of person who finds something exciting that is also at the same time self-destructive?
What if?
Yeah.
Well, what if?
Well,
then you will be excited by your self-destruction.
Well, you keep saying that, you keep talking about if you find something exciting within your integrity.
We are simply giving you the understanding, sharing with you the notion that if you wish to be consciously aware of the fact that you are creating that experience, then doing it within your integrity is the way that can allow you to maintain a connection to conscious awareness of the fact that you are creating that reality. The idea of being excited of things that are outside the integrity will many times allow you to play the victim game and think that something else is creating the circumstance rather than you, thus not giving you an opportunity to know that if you should get to a point where you find that self-destructing is no longer very exciting, you may not be aware of the fact that you can stop it just as easily as you started it. That is the difference. To the infinite soul that you are, ultimately it doesn't make a difference because you are eternal no matter what you do with your physical life. And everything is a learning experience. You follow me?
Yes. How can one become more aware of what's going to be ultimately either self-destructive or healthy?
How can you be aware of what is self-destructive or healthy?
Yes. I mean, sometimes I do things and I think it's really good for me and I think I'm doing the healthy thing for my life, and then a couple of months later I realize that I've sabotaged myself once again.
No. Understand, your question implies that there is something going on in your life that is not the product of your creation of it. How can I be aware? Which implies that there is some mechanism turning that you have no control over. You can be aware that everything in your life is healthy by choosing to believe that it is so, period. And not choosing to believe that something that occurs in your life is, in fact, sabotage. That is your choice to choose that point of view. That choosing of that point of view is what creates the situation to be sabotage. You are sabotaging it. To be sabotage. Because you choose to believe that the situation is sabotage. You are aware that it is healthy by choosing to understand that everything in your life serves you positively. Thereby you allow yourself to know that no matter what happens, it is for a good reason and is not an interruption in your path. Because it can't be. Because a path is not what you are on. A path is what you are. You can't be off yourself. That is how you become aware. You follow me? You simply choose to understand that every situation is fundamentally neutral. No situation has built-in meaning. There is no such thing as a fundamental situation that is in and of itself, simply because of the definition of the circumstances, a sabotaging situation. The only thing that creates it to be a sabotaging situation is your judgmental perception of it in that light. It is only your judgment of it that creates it to be what you judged it to be. When you stop judging the ideas to be negative, when you stop judging that they have no place in your life, then you will assign to these neutral situations a positive symbology. And that is what will allow you to see how the situation, in fact, positively served you by being there, rather than give you the impression, or you creating the impression, that it has no business being in your life, and is an interruption in the path you think you should be being. That is how. Does that make sense? Thank you. Then I will, at this time, remind each and every one of you, individually and collectively, all you need to do is allow yourselves to believe that it is that simple. You did not have to do anything special to deserve existence. Exist you do. Exist you always will, by definition. All that is granted you existence from unconditional love, and unconditionally loves you forever. Treat yourself with the same respect by understanding that everything in your life is something that serves you and is not there to destroy you. Choose what you prefer out of all the choices you give yourself. We bid you exciting dream life and life dreams. They are one and the same reality. One and the same. We bid you a fond and